Step back in time to 1944, where amidst the backdrop of World War II, American communities found solace and unity in shared meals. The USO-sponsored community dinners became a beacon of hope, bringing together medium-class families to share not just food, but stories, laughter, and a sense of normalcy. In an era marked by rationing and resourcefulness, home cooks showcased their ingenuity, crafting dishes that were both economical and heartwarming. These recipes, passed down through generations, tell tales of resilience, creativity, and the unbreakable spirit of a nation. Join us as we uncover 14 forgotten recipes that once graced the tables of these community gatherings. From savory casseroles to delightful desserts, each dish offers a glimpse into the culinary tapestry of 1940s America. Prepare to be transported to a time where every bite was a testament to unity, perseverance, and the simple joys of a shared meal. Imagine a time when every backyard teemed with life, not just children playing, but rows of tomatoes, beans, and carrots sprouting under the vigilant care of American families. During World War II, amid the strains of rationing and global conflict, the U.S. government encouraged citizens to cultivate victory gardens to supplement their food supply and bolster morale. These gardens became symbols of resilience and unity. Families transformed their lawns, schoolyards, and vacant lots into productive plots, yielding fresh produce that not only nourished their bodies but also their spirits. The act of gardening became a patriotic duty, with over 20 million victory gardens planted across the nation by 1944. From these gardens emerged the Victory Garden Vegetable Medley, a dish emblematic of the era's ingenuity. This hearty stew combined whatever vegetables were in season, be it carrots, potatoes, cabbage, or green beans, into a nourishing meal that stretched limited resources. Recipes were shared through community cookbooks and government pamphlets, emphasizing adaptability and frugality. The medley wasn't just about sustenance, it was a testament to the collective effort on the home front. Cooking became an act of solidarity, with families gathering to prepare meals that reflected both their resourcefulness and their commitment to the war effort. The dish often incorporated simple seasonings and, when available, a splash of vinegar or a spoonful of bacon drippings to enhance flavor. Today, the Victory Garden Vegetable Medley stands as a culinary relic, reminding us of a time when unity and determination were cultivated alongside vegetables. Recreating this dish offers not only a taste of history but also an appreciation for the resilience and creativity that defined a generation.
Imagine a kitchen in 1940s America, where the aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with the spirit of resilience. In the midst of World War II, with rationing altering daily life, families turned to innovative recipes to make the most of limited resources. One such creation was the Liberty Loaf, a bread that symbolized both sustenance and patriotism. The Liberty Loaf emerged as a response to wheat shortages, encouraging homemakers to substitute a portion of wheat flour with alternative ingredients like cornmeal, rice, potatoes, or oats. This not only conserved essential supplies for the troops but also introduced a new culinary tradition on the home front. A typical recipe involved boiling and mashing a potato, then combining it with yeast, sugar, salt, and flour to create a hearty dough. After kneading and allowing it to rise, the loaf was baked to perfection, offering a nourishing staple for families. Beyond its practical benefits, the Liberty Loaf held symbolic significance. Baking this bread became an act of solidarity, a daily reminder of the collective effort to support the war. It was a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the American people, transforming simple ingredients into a source of comfort and unity. Today, the Liberty Loaf stands as a culinary relic, reminding us of a time when creativity and community were essential ingredients in every meal. Recreating this bread offers not only a taste of history but also an appreciation for the resilience that defined a generation. Imagine a chilly evening in 1944, when factory whistles had long fallen silent and families shuffled home beneath ration-stickered rooftops. In kitchens across America, pots simmered with hope and ingenuity. At the heart of it all was the Patriots Pot Pie, a dish that became synonymous with USO community dinners and medium-class family solidarity. When meat was rationed and fresh vegetables were often scarce, home cooks mastered the art of making do. The Patriots Pot Pie began with modest ingredients: a small ration portion of chicken or beef, cubed into bite-sized pieces, canned peas and carrots pulled from Victory Garden surplus, and a simple broth enriched with fat drippings saved from Sunday's roast. These elements were tucked into a flaky pastry crust made by blending flour, shortening, salt, and just enough cold water to form a workable dough, every pinch of fat conserved for flavor. Each USO-sponsored dinner hall served hundreds of these pies in cast-iron skillets or deep baking pans, feeding soldiers and civilians alike. The hand-crimped edges of the crust signified home, even for those far from family. As the pies baked, the crust browned to a gentle gold, while the filling bubbled beneath, releasing savory steam that carried notes of resilience. Beyond its comforting taste, the Patriots Pot Pie carried deeper meaning. While communities pooled meat stamps to stretch limited rations, women exchanged tips on hidden pantry finds, turnips shredded into the filling, evaporated milk whipped into the gravy, or dried herbs from Victory Garden patches sprinkled on top. These innovations didn't just keep bellies full, they forged bonds between neighbors, reinforcing the notion that every family's contribution, however small, was vital to the war effort. Today, recreating the Patriots Pot Pie offers a window into a time when resourcefulness was a patriotic act. Each savory slice reminds us how ordinary ingredients, rationed meat, canned vegetables, and humble dough, could feed both body and spirit. And as long as we remember these recipes, the legacy of unity and ingenuity that defined 1944 USO tables will continue to nourish future generations. The war was raging overseas, but in homes across 1940s America, the battle for nourishment was being fought on the kitchen table. With meat rationed, fresh produce hard to come by, and families pinching every penny, creative home cooks stepped up, and Homefront Hash was born. Unlike the rugged meals of railroad camps or factory lunchrooms, this dish had a touch of thoughtful composition. It was crafted by medium-class American families trying to maintain dignity in their meals despite hardship. This wasn't just food, it was morale, served warm. The recipe was a masterclass in thrift. Housewives would save bits of leftover roast beef, pork, or even a few slices of sausage from the Sunday dinner, chopping it all finely. Potatoes were always central, cheap, filling, and versatile. Fried onions added savor, while carrots or turnips brought a sweet earthiness. Some versions even included chopped cabbage or green beans, whatever was growing in backyard Victory Gardens. To prepare it, the ingredients were tossed together in a cast-iron skillet, crisped slowly in lard or bacon grease, and pressed down to form a caramelized crust on the bottom, a technique known as crusting the hash. Some cooks would flip it once like a giant potato cake, others left it rustic, scooped straight from the pan. Served with a fried egg on top or a dollop of canned tomato sauce, it was filling, flavorful, and deceptively comforting. Children grew up on this, not realizing it was born of necessity. And many GIs returning from the front would ask for it, longing for the familiar taste of home. Homefront Hash was more than a dish. It was a testament to the resilience of American families, finding warmth, flavor, and tradition in the leanest of times. And now, as we stir through the ashes of history to reclaim forgotten flavors, this hash reminds us how survival shaped the American table. Coming up next, a dish with roots deep in patriotism, the victory cake. But before we get there, let this hash sizzle in your memory. Back in the 1940s, when the war effort tightened belts across the nation, sugar was rationed, butter was scarce, and yet, every American family still yearned for one simple thing: comfort. That's where the AllAmerican Apple Crisp came in, a humble, oven-warmed dish that captured the spirit of home, resilience, and sweet improvisation. Unlike the elegant apple pies of the upper class or the molasses-heavy cobblers of poorer households, this version struck a balance. It was resourceful, yet indulgent. Medium-class families, especially those in war-era suburbia, turned to this dessert as a way to stretch their rations while still bringing joy to the dinner table. It began with apples, often homegrown or gathered from a neighbor's backyard. These apples, sliced thin, were layered into baking dishes with a modest sprinkle of cinnamon, nutmeg, and just enough sugar to coax out their tartness. The magic, however, lived in the topping. Instead of using rare butter-heavy crusts, women turned to oats, flour, and margarine or bacon drippings, whatever they had on hand. This created a crispy, golden crown that crackled as it cooled, offering that perfect contrast to the soft, syrupy apples beneath. Often served in repurposed pans or pie tins, the AllAmerican apple crisp became a fixture at USO-sponsored dinners, church socials, and community potlucks. It wasn't just a dessert, it was a morale booster, a symbol of ingenuity and togetherness during hard times. And unlike the showy desserts that came later in the post-war boom, this crisp never bragged. It simply arrived warm, fragrant, and honest, like the generation who made it. Now, as we revive these forgotten classics of the medium-class American table, this dish reminds us of how flavor, family, and frugality once shaped a nation's palate. So stay with us, because we're not just remembering what they ate, we're uncovering who they were. It wasn't just a dish. It was a symbol simmering in a pot. In neighborhoods lit by victory gardens and dimmed by blackout curtains, one hearty meal made its way onto countless kitchen tables during the 1940s, Stars and Stripes stew. Its name wasn't just patriotic flair, it captured the unity, creativity, and quiet endurance of American families living through wartime rationing. Unlike the bare-bones meals of the poor, this was a medium-class family favorite, a community creation that blended affordability with heart. The stew was typically made in large enamel or cast-iron pots, often shared during USO community events or Sunday family suppers. It carried the essence of America's working-class spirit. So, what was in it? At its core, whatever you had, and that was the brilliance. Chunks of beef shank or pork shoulder if you were lucky, or canned meat if you weren't. Carrots, potatoes, celery, and beans, common garden staples, were thrown in for bulk and color. Often, red kidney beans for the stripes, and corn kernels, for golden tones, gave it visual appeal and nourishment. The stars? Some homemakers floated dumplings or biscuit rounds on top, fluffy, starchy stars rising from a sea of savory broth. Seasoning was modest. Wartime cookbooks suggested onion powder, salt if available, and herbs from home gardens like thyme or bay leaf. Canned tomatoes sometimes added body and brightness. But the real magic was in how it brought people together. Neighbors cooked it in shifts at community halls. Families ladled it into chipped bowls while news crackled from the radio. It was hearty. It was hopeful. And it told a story of people adapting, of flavors shaped by circumstance, and of recipes that outlast hardship. So now, as we uncover this forgotten stew from America's resilient middle class, we're reminded that history isn't just in books, it's in bowls. And there's more to stir ahead. They weren't made in fancy kitchens or served on polished silverware. They were dropped into crackling oil in wartime kitchens, flipped by calloused hands, and shared with quiet pride. Freedom Fritters. The name itself carried more than flavor, it carried hope. During the 1940s, American medium-class families were doing their part in the war effort, not just on the battlefields, but right at home. With meat rationing, butter limited, and sugar hard to come by, resourcefulness was the main ingredient. These fritters were born from that exact moment in time. They were built from what was available: cornmeal, onions, a touch of dried herbs, and sometimes a few shreds of preserved salt pork or leftover vegetables from the night before. You'd find mothers in aprons mixing batter from memory, children peeling potatoes on the porch, and old cast-iron skillets heating on the stove, ready to bring these golden rounds to life. Fried to a crisp on the outside, soft on the inside, these fritters were more than just food. They were symbols of perseverance. Every bite reminded families that though the world was at war, comfort could still be found in something as humble as a fritter. What made them special wasn't just what went into them, but what they stood for: freedom from waste, freedom from hunger, and freedom to keep going. These weren't just survival food, they were morale boosters, sent in care packages to soldiers or served at USO community dinners. Today, they've nearly vanished from memory, overshadowed by flashier, modern fare. But freedom fritters deserve to be remembered, not just for their taste, but for the spirit they represented. Resilient, unpretentious, unyielding. And now, as we dig deeper into these forgotten kitchen treasures of medium-class America, stay with us, because the next dish on our table has a story that's even richer. Don't miss it. As the war raged overseas, back home in mid-century America, families found creative ways to bring everyone together around the dinner table. Enter the Unity Casserole, a humble, hearty dish that stitched together frugality, flavor, and family spirit in one bubbling pan. Unlike the extravagant casseroles of affluent households, this dish was born from the resourcefulness of medium-class families who juggled rationing and tight budgets but still craved nourishing comfort food. What made Unity Casserole stand out was its adaptability. Layers of simple ingredients like leftover meat, canned vegetables, potatoes, and breadcrumbs were combined with thickened gravy, all baked together to create a warm, filling meal. Historically, casseroles like this gained immense popularity during the 1940s, not just for their ease and economy, but for the sense of solidarity they symbolized. Every spoonful was a quiet reminder that even amid scarcity, communities could unite in resilience. The casserole brought together what was on hand, whether it was bits of chicken from Sunday's roast, carrots from the Victory Garden, or a can of corn preserved from the last harvest. This dish was more than just sustenance. It was a testament to the era's spirit of cooperation. Often prepared in one pot or baking dish, it was easily transportable, making it a staple at USO-sponsored community dinners where families gathered to share stories, support one another, and bolster morale. Today, Unity Casserole remains largely forgotten, overshadowed by more glamorous wartime dishes. But its legacy lives on. In every casserole layered with love, every meal shared despite hardship, and every family that found strength in unity during America's toughest times. Next, we'll uncover another recipe that tells a story of resilience and flavor. Stay with us as we continue to explore these lost culinary treasures. Not all wartime meals were rations and canned goods. Some were heartbeats of the home front. And today, we uncover one such dish that kept spirits alive through some of the toughest days in 1940s America: service spaghetti. This wasn't the glossy, cheese-loaded pasta you see today. No, service spaghetti was a victory meal born in modest kitchens during World War II, where creativity often replaced abundance. With meat rationed and luxury ingredients scarce, medium-class families reimagined what comfort food looked like. And they started with pasta. Spaghetti noodles, affordable, shelf-stable, and easy to store, were often purchased in bulk. Housewives would boil them until just tender, then toss them with what little they had: browned onions for richness, diced carrots and celery from the Victory Garden, and if lucky, scraps of ground beef or crumbled sausage carefully saved from the weekly ration. The sauce was never fancy, usually just stewed tomatoes mixed with drippings, flour-thickened broth, and a few pantry spices. And cheese? If there was any, it was sprinkled so lightly it was more of a memory than a topping. Yet the result was deeply satisfying: flavors cooked slowly, textures layered, and everything cooked in one big pan to feed the whole family. It was the kind of dish that brought people together after long work shifts at the factory, a hearty plate that reminded them they were contributing to something bigger. It wasn't gourmet, but it was service. Service to family, service to country, and service to survival. And as we spoon out this forgotten favorite, it's worth remembering that for many American families, spaghetti wasn't Italian night, it was resilience on a plate. Not every battle for freedom was fought on the front lines. Some were waged quietly, right at the dinner table, with flour-dusted hands and borrowed hope. Today, we uncover a humble, hearty dish that brought warmth to medium-class American homes during wartime hardship: democracy dumplings. Back in the 1940s, while soldiers defended liberty overseas, families at home had to defend their meals against ration books and empty shelves. Meat was scarce, fat was precious, and every scrap of vegetable counted. But out of those limits came incredible creativity. And democracy dumplings became a symbol of resilience, unity, and resourcefulness. This dish wasn't about luxury, it was about survival. Simple biscuit dough, made from rationed flour and powdered milk, was rolled and stuffed with whatever filling a household could muster: mashed potatoes, onions, or leftover bits of canned meat. The dumplings were then dropped into bubbling broth, often a meatless vegetable stock made from peelings and scraps, where they swelled, softened, and absorbed every bit of flavor like a sponge for hope. Children loved them because they were warm and soft. Parents loved them because they could stretch a meal to feed everyone. And across neighborhood kitchens, they became a fixture, passed around in makeshift bowls during church suppers, USO dinners, and even tucked into thermoses for workers on long factory shifts. The name, Democracy Dumplings, was more than catchy alliteration. It captured a spirit of equality, where no matter what your income, your race, or your ration number, you could sit at the table and share the same comforting meal. These dumplings fed more than bodies. They fed morale. They reminded families that with a bit of flour, a spoon of salt, and a lot of heart, they could make something out of nothing. And as we dig deeper into these forgotten recipes, remember, it's not just about what we ate. It's about why we made it. Stick with us, because the next recipe might just be the most surprising one yet.